This is Future Talk.
Future Talk.
Future Talk with Omnia Saleh and Hani Balkis.
Welcome back to Future Talk right here on Pulse 95. It is me, Hani Balkis, bringing you everything you need to know about what's happening in the tech world and in the UAE. And to start off our Wednesday afternoon, yes, it is Wednesday. One more day until we start the weekend and one more day until it is New Year's Eve. And I'm really excited for the new year 2021. I want to know what you guys are doing on New Year's Eve or for New Year's in general. 4215 Durat Salat. But talking about the UAE news, UAE's Wi-Fi is now the fastest in the Middle East, as they did add a couple of new allocations. Also, we're going to be talking about how STC, the provider in Saudi Arabia, is partnering with Alibaba Cloud. Now, that's a big one. We do know Alibaba, who the company that is owned by Jack Ma, one of China's richest billionaires, is having collaboration with STC. And talking about the electric vehicle industry, we're talking about the first Model Y, a Tesla Model Y, and how it is a police vehicle in New York City. Now, we're looking at New York doing a lot of things when it's talking about electric vehicles. We talked about yesterday how Tesla's Model 3 was now becoming a taxi in New York, and now we're saying Tesla Model Y as a police car. We're also going to be talking about an Apple Watch leak and how it's offering us a rare glimpse inside an ultra security program. Now, you guys do know I love my Apple Watch. I do have the Apple Series, I believe it's 4, but I do want to get my hands on the new Apple Watch when it comes out next year. I want to know your guys' thoughts. 4215 Durat Salat or on our Instagram at Pulse95 Radio. Which story are you excited about the most? And what are you doing for New Year's? We're going to be taking a short break, but when we come back, I got all the news for you right here.
Daily digital news. Bits and bytes connect our world.
Bits and bytes do connect to our world, ladies and gentlemen. And today, starting off the show, we're talking about UAE's Wi-Fi and how it's now the fastest in the Middle East, just after an additional spectrum allocation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, uploads and downloads inside UAE homes will now become the fastest in the region. Now, an additional 500 megahertz radio spectrum of around 6 gigahertz band has been allocated for indoor Wi-Fi use. Now, ladies and gentlemen, 6 gigahertz means 6G. Now, we just recently been getting 5G on our mobile phones, but now we're talking about 6 gigahertz. Now, this will significantly boost the speed of indoor wireless networks in the UAE, which will help us to keep up with the increasing use of wireless services by individuals and companies and different businesses' day-to-day activities, and to accommodate new applications which do drive the demand for faster speeds and greater reliability. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that was a statement by the TRA right here in the UAE. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we know ever since the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of us are using the internet much more often. A lot of us are streaming YouTube videos, streaming Netflix movies, doing literally everything and anything on our computers and mobile devices, and obviously most of which or all are connected to the internet. Now, when you have such load on these servers, obviously it will become slower. But now, slower isn't a word right here in the UAE, because we will be the fastest in the region. Now, as of now, around 99% of homes in the UAE do have internet access and Wi-Fi. Thus, this does play an essential role in providing connectivity between the users, routers, and the increasing number of wireless-enabled devices in their homes, which does include TV and game consoles. Now, the COVID-19 situation has stressed the importance of having reliable Wi-Fi systems in our homes, obviously, because we do know that a lot of people were working from home. And the majority of people were working from home in the UAE and around the world during the COVID-19 pandemic, and especially when lockdowns were implemented all over the world. So, having faster Wi-Fi to rely on, because obviously a lot of people were using Zoom calls to do meetings, to talk with friends and family, and even to play games. Playing games with one another using Wi-Fi. Obviously, when you're playing with a game with someone and someone's at home and you're at home playing, let's say, for example, Call of Duty, you would like to hear their voice to kind of listen to their reaction as you're playing that game. So having faster internet and being the fastest right here in the region is something very important, and hats off to the UAE for again being the fastest in the Middle East. But we're not done talking about telecoms, ladies and gentlemen, because we're talking about STC and how it has announced a partnership with Alibaba Cloud. Now, the state-owned Saudi telecom company and venture capital fund EWTP Arabia has announced a joint partnership with Alibaba Cloud to provide high-performance public cloud services in Saudi Arabia. Now, with the international HQ being in Singapore, Alibaba Cloud does provide cloud computing services to online businesses and is the digital technology backbone of the Chinese e-commerce conglomerate. So, ladies and gentlemen, Alibaba, for those who don't know, is the company that is owned by Jack Ma, one of China's richest billionaires. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, now Alibaba Cloud is planning to invest up to $500 million over the next 5 years as part of the partnership. And as part of the deal, a new office to be set in Riyadh to provide services and training to local customers, which will be in Saudi Arabia. Now, the investment also does provide a wide range of resources to help build sustainability and ensure localization. Now, the CEO of Alibaba Cloud Intelligence does say that Saudi Arabia is a strategic market for them. Now, I think last week, Saudi Aramco Development Company and even Google Cloud did sign an agreement to offer services to customers in Saudi Arabia. Now, according to Aramco, Google Cloud will establish and operate a new cloud region in Saudi Arabia, and a new company will be formed to supply cloud solutions and services to customers. So we're seeing a lot of things going right now in Saudi Arabia with Alibaba and Google Cloud. Now, for those who don't know what a cloud service is, basically you can download and upload things to a cloud for easy access and not have it actually like a physical database. A lot goes into cloud computing, but it's good to see that Saudi Arabia is getting the big names and signing contracts and agreements with them for Saudi Arabia to use them locally. But, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be taking a short break. But when we come back, we're talking about an ex-Nintendo executive and how Kanye West and Kim Kardashian came to him for a game.
Check this out. Check this out. Oh, 95.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been seeing New York kind of go to the form of where they want to make all their cars in New York City electric vehicles. And as Tesla does continue on its quest for automotive dominance, their vehicles are becoming more and more common, not only within luxury markets, but also as police cruisers. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we're seeing the first Model Y and how it's been officially debuted as a police car in New York. Now, specifically, the car was commissioned by the Hastings-on-Hudson Police Department, which is located in Westchester County in New York. Now, this isn't the first time that a Tesla has been a police car. Now, the Model 3 has been utilized by several departments for some time now, but this is the first time that the Model Y is being put into service. However, this electric police cruiser won't be chasing down speeders and traffic. Rather, it will be sledging down back alleys as part of the department's detective division. Now, this gives me something out of Inspector Gadget. Do you guys remember Inspector Gadget? I mean, he had all the cool tech and gadgets. And obviously, if you have a Tesla car, you're cool and you're techy, especially the Model Y. Now, even though it will just be used by detectives, the car is still fit with lights, sirens, and police radios. Now, the typical is basically the typical setup for a police car of the like. Now, as for what the type of Model Y the police department did decide to use, it is a long-range silver metallic Model Y that sits on this 19-inch Gemini wheel. So they've kind of went all out with the Model Y. Now, upon learning that the Model Y has been put to use as a police car, one might start to wonder even why it was chosen, considering it is generally considered to be a medium-level luxury SUV car. Now, the biggest reason that the car was chosen is the fuel savings it does present. Now, while the cost of the car actually might be higher than a traditional cruiser, it is estimated that the Model Y will save the department over $8,500 over the first 5 years in its service just by buying the car. Now, when you compound the fuel savings with Tesla's incredibly high resale values and the purchases, it starts to make a lot more sense for police applications. So we're looking at Tesla is coming out. Obviously, the resale value of Tesla cars are pretty good, and the second number two selling point, or the number one selling point, is that fuel economy. I mean, obviously, you're not using fuel; it's an electric vehicle, and the police department will be saving $10,000 in the first 5 years just by switching to these electric vehicles. Now, I do believe that the Model Y is brand new. It still hasn't been to the masses yet. And we're saying New York using it. Now, yesterday we talked about how New York taxis are using Tesla Model 3s. And we're saying, I think, about a fleet of 1,000 of them. Now, 1,000 taxis is nothing in New York City. Now, we do know New York City, the Big Apple, to be well known for their yellow cab taxis. The yellow cab cars, that is kind of like the trademark in New York City. So to see Teslas being rolled out in a fleet all over New York City is something good because, number one, New York is pretty packed and a lot of people use their cars to commute in New York City. So having electric vehicles is good because, number one, we want to save the environment. Global warming is real and New York does want to save the environment. And the world doesn't want to save the environment. But what we're looking at right now is a less of a carbon footprint when it comes to the New York Police Department. And I'm just really excited to see what we have in store in the coming years. Again, we are still in 2020. A couple more days, we're going to go into 2021. This year was super quick to me, to be honest. I mean, yeah, there was a COVID-19 pandemic, and the beginning of the year was kind of slow. But, I mean, the year was pretty quick in general. I want to know your guys' thoughts. 4215 Doodle Thoughts or on our Instagram at Pulse95 Radio. Did you feel that 2021 was quick? And would you like to see a Tesla as a police car right here in Sharjah and in the UAE? I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing a Tesla car. Teslas are cool. I mean, again, my opinion on Tesla so far is that I would get it as a second car, not as my main car. But that's just my opinion. 4215 Doodle Slot or on our Instagram at Pulse95 Radio. Would you get a Tesla as your first or second car? And would you like to see it as a police car all over the UAE?
Gadget of the day.
New tech you might want to play with.
Pulse 95.
New tech you might want to play with, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about an Apple Watch leak and how it's offering a rare glimpse inside the ultra security program that Apple does come out with. Now, the prototype does show running a pre-watch OS 1.0 build on this watch. Now, this isn't going to be a leak for a newer watch, but we're going back into the pre-OS build. Now, there has been new images and videos purporting to show an Apple Watch prototype, which was concealed by a security case that does resemble a tiny iPod, which does offer a rare look behind the product development curtain of the notoriously secretive company which was built by Steve Jobs, which is Apple. Now, it was first teased a few months ago by Twitter user Apple Demo, and he does say that this is our first look at the device turned on and running Apple's own internal development app on a pre-watch OS 1.0 software build. Now, obviously, he did show a video, and I'm going to describe the video that this Twitter user came out with. Now, the video does start by showing what appears to be the original cardboard packaging used to deliver the prototype hardware to testers, and it says that this product is classified as Apple Confidential and is designed as an ultra security program. Now, that is what is on the label. It also says that this prototype must be returned when recalled or when says the labeling, before being obscured to hide the origins of the device. Now, a sticker on the back of the prototype device itself does show it is a PVTE configuration, which does mean that production validation testing or engineering in line with language seen on the previous Apple development software or hardware, like the leaked EVT board for the original iPhone. Now, when the touchscreen device is turned on, we can see that it is configured to show Apple's own internal apps. One is the Lisa Tester, which was identified with an icon of Lisa Simpson, but likely a tribute to Steve Jobs' daughter, and namesake of Apple's Lisa computer, one of the first computers to feature a GUI interface. Now, the app does let testers tweak the UI elements of the prototype watch, and the Springboard Zoom app, which was found inside the Lisa Tester in a very similar way to the original Watch OS home screen that was shipped on the first Apple Watch in 2015. Can you guys imagine? It's been 5 years since the first Apple Watch. Now, we're looking at this prototype per se, and there was no digital crown or the dial on the watch. Instead, there was buttons along the right side of the case that can be used for a home button and the power button. Now, the home button on the front and what appears to be a volume up and down buttons on the left are never being shown in the video and might not even be functional. Now, when clicking into settings, the device does report that it hasn't received FCC approval yet for sales, which does add further confirmation of its prototype status. Now, assuming that the prototype is real, and it definitely seems that way, then it is a remarkable example of how pre-production Apple devices were never meant to see. Now, it just shows how secret Apple was with their iPhones and even their Apple Watches. I mean, 5 years later, we're seeing the first prototype of the Apple Watch. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to know your guys' thoughts. 4215.
If you liked this episode of Future Talk, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.